Hey guys, welcome to week 3 of Entrusted series. It's going to be a great week as we wrap up the series together in our groups. This week's the Bible on giving being open-handed. We'll start with an intro question. I think maybe something along the lines of when have you been touched by somebody's generosity? That sort of question. I think maybe you've had that in the past where people have cared for you in difficult times, or you've seen people give generously when you or somebody else has been in financial need, and how that's actually touched you. So why don't you talk through a few of those examples? Okay, now the getting into the gospel questions. Question 1, read 2 Corinthians 2:14 to 17. How would you describe in your own words the work that God is doing amongst those whom He saves? Well, the gospel we see is there is spreading out a great picture where Christ is being glorified. People are hearing the gospel, and it's described as the scent of good news that God is using His people to take that out. And we're seeing people won for Christ and growing in Him. But we also see the scent of death to those who hear the gospel and reject it, to those who are not being saved. So it's quite a powerful image there of the way God works through His people in a partnership with the gospel. We move to Philippians 1:3 to 7 and 4:10 to 20. I'll read those together. What's the key aspects of the Philippians partnership there? So we see the Philippians being generous. They're seeking to be partners in the gospel work of Paul. So they're not just sitting back waiting to be told what to do or waiting for Paul to beg them. They're keen to show their partnership by sharing in Paul's troubles. And they do that, you'll see in 4:16, again and again as they seek to give financial aid to his ministry. Question 3, what's in their behaviour that makes it a partnership exactly? Well, I think it's quite obvious there. There's a love for Paul and his mission. It's not just because they give money. Obviously, that's part of it. But Paul declares earlier that he's content in every situation, that he didn't need their gift, but he was grateful to receive it. And not just because it was money, but because they were generous. They wanted to show their concern to him. They show their love for him and their love for the mission by giving to that. And they did that. They were the only church to do that, we're told, for Paul, and they gave again and again. And so it's an incredible concern for Paul shown in tangible, practical ways, which is very encouraging. Question 4, how does the idea of partnership in the gospel apply to you and your resources? This is a chance to reflect on whether we have a similar heart to the Philippians. It's an opportunity to think about how we might work at having a generous heart, because I don't think there's many people who that comes to naturally, but work at how we might be continuing to be generous and be loving to give, being partners in the gospel. And so it'd be good to have a bunch of practical examples there, how you might help those in your group, those guys and girls in your group, how they might put their partnership into action. So maybe it's by giving to church, definitely would be one of the options. Also giving to our mission partners, praying for them as well, and seeking to care for those in gospel ministry. Having a heart for them like the Philippians did for Paul. Then we move to 2 Corinthians. 2 Corinthians 9:6 to 15. What here do we learn about moving not from partnership as much, but more to generosity? And what do we learn here about how we're called to be generous? Well, God calls us to be generous, but He says to do it with a cheerful heart. Here we see people whose hearts are godly, and they're being cheerful in their generosity. They don't just have good intentions, which is often the case, I'm sure, for you and me, good intentions, but they have practical generosity. We're not just want to be generous, they actually are. They work hard at it, and they give from what they have, and they do that with a cheerful heart. Question 6 then asks, what's the outcome of the Corinthian Christians being generous? Well, it's very exciting. You see that as a result of their generosity, this is what Paul says about them. He says, because of this is verse 13 of chapter 9, because of the service by which you've proved yourselves, men will praise God for the obedience that accompanies your confession of the gospel of Christ, and for your generosity in sharing with them and everyone else. So as a result of their generosity, people give thanks to God. God's honoured in the way that we support the work, and in the way that we are cheerful givers. So question 7, where can you become more generous and more cheerful in your support of gospel work? How do you think God will be honoured by that? There might be lots of different ways that you might be thinking, yeah, how can I be more generous and more cheerful in my giving, and have that something as we work toward. We'll finish by praying, guys, giving thanks that God's called us into partnership in the gospel to together spread that saving news of Jesus. Pray that He'll enable you to be generous in seeing that happen. And pray that for yourself before the study, before you do that as well. And you might even like to share. It would be great to share ways that you've been challenged as you prepared the study in how you might be more generous, and show even practical ways that you've made that possible before the day. Alright guys, this has been the last week of Entrusted. Hope you've enjoyed it. Next week 2 Thessalonians, so you'll see me again then. But looking forward to that. Totally different book, totally different feel, but also a great time. See you then.